Excellent. Annie and team, fascinating opening couple of sessions here on the topic of AI native telco. Just want to make a few opening comments here, and then we'll get into understanding where some telcos are today, what this AI native journey looks like in the future, and some of the milestones that we'll have. I'm reminded that I think it was the physicist Niels Bohr said that prediction is really difficult, especially if it's about the future. That's kind of where we are right now, even listening to some of the comments from other practitioners already this morning. But that's what we're going to attempt in any case. I just want to make a personal point. I've worked in the telco industry for a long time, several decades and a little bit longer. And most of that time working with or for telcos, the mission was largely constrained by not changing things too much, only make incremental change. I think that's something that's no longer the case. The sort of forces at play today, technologically, economically, maybe even politically, are really resetting, I think, telco's ambition for what's possible in what they're doing. And AI is clearly a central part of that. So the challenge we have, I think, for telecom industry more broadly is the speed of change that we're seeing is not like anything that we used to seeing before. So we have this kind of constant tension. And I think when we talk about going AI native, I think the insinuation that it's a logical or a straightforward or an easy path to map forward is, I think, underplays the challenge that we have really at a more fundamental level. However, the good news is that for the next 45 minutes or so, I have three people who know an awful lot more about it than I do, which is terrific. People in the front line of their industry, of their companies. Let me introduce them. We have Carolina García from Telefonica. Carolina, thank you. Welcome. Carolina is the head of AI in the global CTIO department. Very high profile organization, very high profile department. Thank you for joining us today. We also have Natali Delic, who is the Chief Strategy and Digital Officer from Telekom Srbija. Extremely experienced, lots of technical and business combination of skills there. Extremely important. I know that Andre was referencing those. And finally, we have Alexey Rusakov. He's a senior technologist for AI and automation within Red Hat's Telco Center of Excellence. Alexey, welcome. Great to hear your thoughts today. Okay, I'd like to start with a little bit of context. Given that we have framed today's conversation up under the topic of AI native, what does that mean to you? And Carolina, maybe we could start with you. What does AI native mean to you inside the Telefonica organization in terms of what you're doing?
Okay, from our point of view in the network, an AI native network means something like a full autonomous network. What is this? It's in this case, the artificial intelligence or the intelligence are not components in our network, but also it is the core of the way of how we are managing our network. This kind of network have capabilities of understand what is happening in the environment in terms of traffic, of failures, degradations in the behavior of the network, and can adapt or react to solve these problems in real time and without minimum human intervention.
So really very much about a kind of operations focus and making that fast and intelligent. Natali, maybe I can ask you the same question. Again, it doesn't have to be related to networks. We're talking AI native more broadly. Perhaps give a little bit of context about Telekom Srbija as well, maybe an organization that people are a little bit less familiar with in Telefonica.
I definitely agree that it's very important and probably the most advanced area of applying AI, both machine learning and now with the Gen AI and the agentic is technology. But I think that AI native will not be primarily about technology maturity. I think that it will be a lot about decision-making maturity when we are using AI in the company. So right now, I would say that we are transitioning from AI approach that is fragmented experiments like isolated pilots, enthusiastic teams, a lot of enthusiasm, definitely the promising proof of concept. And we are transitioning towards more coherent view of how all these initiatives actually fit together. And that is what, for me, AI native organization means. I see it like new operational mode of the company, where AI initiatives are treated as a strategic investment portfolio and not as disconnected, although innovative projects. So there needs to be clear visibility across all AI efforts, shared valuation criteria, explicit decisions, what to scale, what to pause, what even to stop, but because not everything should be done by AI. There are a lot of things that do not need to do it. And I think that hype sometimes can lead us in the wrong direction. So AI native for me, it's actually how to have a discipline of AI portfolio management that will be very, very realigned with business strategy. And technology area is one part, but a lot in other areas as well.
Mm-hmm. Just going to ask you a follow-on question about that, Natali, because you've mentioned, I think, something that doesn't come up quite so often, but should do in conversations on AI. You've talked about decision-making. In telecom, we're used to having very functional descriptions and maps of how a telecom operator works, but they're very much kind of task-oriented. In your organization, with that decision-making thought in mind, do you have a sense of, can you map all the decisions that people are taking in your organization as a guide to understanding what decisions you take and their relative importance, and perhaps where within those decisions AI, either machine learning or agentic form, might be applicable? Is that a different way to look at the business of telecom?
Well, I cannot say that we are already there and that we are having all these points connected, but we understand the need to have them, because right now, if we are task oriented, then we will have a lot of isolation. This does not apply only on AI, but with AI we are risking of having too many projects that actually do not contribute properly because they're not connected properly to make a decision where to go. And maybe we should have like domains, and to decide a short and long term portfolio for certain domains, and to see how we will decide what to do when, so that we can reach some positive business result. And that is what I'm talking here about. So not everything is yet connected, but we managed, at least in the last couple of years, to create portfolio management for everything that we are doing, all projects, small, short, long, transformational, operational, so that we at least understand what is happening. And with this portfolio management, now the subset of this needs to be developed as AI, strategic portfolio management. But with this, we have much better view on these decision-making points. It would be too much to say that we are very mature, but we are definitely not at the beginning of the journey. So definitely we are trying to connect these dots in order to understand a wider context and to go away from task-based decisions.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. It's a different perspective. Again, it's not just, as we hear here and there, it's not just a technology. We understand that, I think, as an industry, but we don't always understand what the other pieces are. Some of what you're talking about references that. Alexey, you're part of the Telco Center of Excellence at Red Hat. I know you're working with many different telco customers, but what's your sense of what AI native means to them, and what does it mean inside of Red Hat?
Yeah, in fact, a lot of things have already been mentioned of what I was about to say, and I'm generally aligned with Natali that it's one of the very important things about being AI native is the fundamental changes in the decision making, and I would extend it even further. A lot of customers, and that actually is not specific to AI, pretty much every wave of technology happens in the same vein. The customers are coming to vendors asking for a fix. Like, give me that technology fix. And we always start trying to carefully explain that aside from just like, if we just bring you the technology, it has every chance of ending either wasting your money or being shelfware, which is almost the same thing. But it won't bring you so many benefits as you would expect unless you invest in changing your ways and unless you invest in changing your mindset. So we always have to think of changes occurring on 3 layers: the people, the processes, and only then the technology. The technology is actually the minor thing that comes as a natural consequence of changes in the process and especially in the mindset of people. And to illustrate what I mean in terms of the mindset of people, my background is in software development and system administration. And we've had a saying that a good sysadmin is a lazy sysadmin. Because if you're doing the same thing manually every now and then, like over and over again, it doesn't show that you are a good sysadmin. Because people can make mistakes. People are not necessarily consistent in their approaches. So you have to automate things. And that was basically the underpinning idea, that if you're lazy, every time you do something manually, you think, how do I make the machine do that for me? And now with the current wave of AI and the machine learning popularity, we actually have the same question being asked on the next level. Okay, like, how can I relay something to the machine to do something for me instead of me doing the same thing in a like not so reliable and maybe not so efficient way compared to what the machine can come up with.
Yeah.
So for me, being AI native is basically boiling down to changing the way we think of what is happening in the business, of what is happening in the technology. And as a result, we get those autonomous networks, autonomous operations as the initial consequence of changing the mindset.
Yeah, that makes sense. It takes me to another question about this, the path of becoming more AI native. Is that a distinct, are there distinct phases along that path? Carolina, I know Telefonica has been doing a lot in this area for a long time. Everyone agrees it'll be a long journey, but can you mark out kind of distinct periods that you go through and you say, okay, now we're through this phase of the journey, we're into a new period? Or is it kind of constant evolution, a gradual change? How would you characterize that?
Okay, in our case, we started a company program for autonomous network in 2021. And well, this program is based on TM Forum framework for autonomous network.
Okay.
And there are defined different levels of autonomy from
Sure.
L0 to L5. For reaching or increasing this level of autonomy, we have structured the program in several points or layers. One is related to evolve the network to more softwareized, more cloud native, API, etc. Another layer is related to technology and building an automation and AI platform, including all the capabilities for that data management, data governance, of course, the OSS that are managing the network, capabilities for automation and capabilities for AI. At the beginning, more machine learning capabilities, and we are extended now with capabilities for generative AI, for agentic AI, and also for digital twins. This layer, this technology layer, provides a set of capabilities to implement use cases and redesign our processes. We are working with the technical teams to identify how the processes were last years, and we are working with them for redesign these processes, including more automation, more intelligence, and definitely putting focus in that these processes were more autonomous. And other important layer is people. We are working in redefining and structure a set of new skills, new roles, new methodologies, new ways of working, included in the program. In this part, we have implemented in each country a center of excellence of AI, helping them to increase autonomy in their processes and providing a set of common capabilities and common enablers for that these specific areas and specific domains could use for implement new use cases. And from the design, we are putting focus on security, customer centricity, and sustainability. And the phases, we are currently, we have reached in some specific domains and some processes a level 4 of autonomy. For example, these levels, a level 2 is a partial autonomous network with a lot of automation, mainly based on rules. A level 3 include more complex automations and also some AI components, mainly based on machine learning. And level 4 is including predictions in real time, management based on intent, cross-domain closed loops, and things like that. So the main heap, the higher heap is between level 3 and level 4. We also have some level 4 use cases in specific domains and for specific processes, but the challenge is here, moving all processes and all domains from level 3 to level 4. And at this point, we think that agentic AI could give this or could help to reach this movement.
No, that's very interesting. I know we've written quite a lot of research on that level 3 to level 4. I think we call the autonomy chasm because it's not the same as levels 1 to 3 in the TM4 thing. Natali, in your context, I mean, do you see the same? I know you're looking ahead somewhat, but and you've talked a lot about organization, but do you see the same phases? It sounds like at Telefonica, it's quite a layered sort of approach, build the capabilities and gradually work up. How do you see it?
Yeah, well, thinking about this question, I thought about how our AI journey actually evolved, and I realized that in 2 years we did AI strategy twice. And why am I mentioning this? Because this is definitely phased and layered journey, but we are even having a moving target and lots of elements changing on the way, because like 2 years ago we had a strategy where we had a lot of use cases and what we are going to do last year, we did a strategy that had the whole governance and portfolio view that already did domains, because when you are thinking only about through lenses of individual use cases, you might not capture value properly, or you cannot see how it's connected to other things. And not to say about technology and how much technology actually changed during last year compared to the year before. So what we see here is that we need actually to go through phases, but we need to also redefine what these phases are every year to find a way how to be more adaptable on this journey. And in order to be able to redefine this very fast, now I'm talking more from like a company and strategy perspective, not from technical perspective. I think that we've heard great example how in technical area this can evolve and go through different layers. But we really need to learn how to govern and invest in AI on the company level in order to really be able to capture the value and not to get lost in changes of technologies, new things, new proof of concepts. So for me, that is actually the main way how this trajectory is going high level. So first we were like a lot of these AI initiatives, but not really connected, not common gates, no really decisions. And now the first big milestone is when we do look at things in one comprehensive connected portfolio view. We have defined stages through which every use case, every idea needs to go through. We have the process how these AI use cases need to compete for resources, financial and people and technology and everything else. So there is not anymore. I think that right now we are trying to learn how to not evaluate use cases only based on individual merit, but to see how they contribute to one domain. For instance, there are many cases in customer care domain that you will do. Some are technology foundational things that you need to connect or integration layers. Some might not even have return on investment. But if you combine them properly, then you will get to the value. So you need really to have this kind of view. And this is where we are now. This is the stage where we are really learning how to do this. And the next big goal, in my opinion, should be by end of this year to really learn as an organization how to use this framework that we defined. The next big goal is when the whole organization really understands this framework and really understands that AI projects are not IT projects, not only IT projects. They have one component, but this is not anymore IT project in a way how we used to have them. And especially business part of organization needs to understand that and to understand their role in scaling and operationalizing and using AI. Because their role is much deeper, because with AI agents and agentic AI after that, we will have a lot of digital employees in business teams. And they need to think about how to actually have these hybrid teams. So that is why I see this big evolution of how we actually learn to use AI, and technology is foundational, but it will not be enough if we do not change a lot on the whole company level and how we govern everything related to AI and how we govern also investments in this. So this is a little bit different view, but just to give that perspective also to the audience.
Well, as I said in the start, you guys are in the front line. You're dealing with this on a day-by-day, month-by-month basis, so your perspectives are extremely valuable. You're actually wrestling with the problems in real time. We've touched on this next question to some degree, but I'd like to pin you down on a couple of things. All of you are on the panel. And Alexey, I'm going to come to you first, give the ladies a chance to think about this one. What would you say are the key enablers or key capabilities? So we've touched on some of the kind of cultural aspects, but let me try kind of get a specific sense from you. We're on this journey. What are the things that we should be investing in, or what are the capabilities we need to say, okay, now we can move forward? It's not the only thing we need, but we need a range of things, whether that's financial, cultural, technological, organizational. Mention a couple of the things that you think are really, really critical parts of what could be a strategy.
Right. This is to begin with is both easy and hard. Like it's easy to say, harder to get there. I think everybody is saying that in order to enable AI, the very first thing that you have to make right is your data strategy. If you don't have the consolidated or at least federated data fabric underneath your organization, AI is effectively a non-starter. You can only achieve so much doing things within like an individual silo, and effectively you are getting that kind of a the technology fix in a specific place that I mentioned. Using AI is purely as a tool, as Andrei mentioned in his talk, and really not in a systematic way. In order to achieve the proper benefits, like organization-wide that Natali described, you really have to have access to data, and that doesn't mean that you have one homogeneous data fabric or the data lake that like includes everything and everything. Everybody throws something into that big pile of things. It's more that it has to be properly regulated, governed. There should be the proper access controls in place so that you could achieve the benefits without sacrificing your security and privacy commitments. That is foundational, and it's, as I said, it's easier said than done. The next level is, of course, dealing with the infrastructure, because in order to enable all those AI experimentations, you probably will need a mix of something that is sourced from elsewhere, like SaaS solutions and such, combined with your own expertise and your own experimentation on your local facilities. And for that, you need the proper platform to run the AI experimentation. You have to have the teams that are empowered to do the experimentation, like spending their days in Jupyter Labs, figuring out what works and what doesn't with the AI ML models, and specifically finding out, okay, like these use cases are actually worthwhile to be for AML to be used, or these use cases are actually would benefit from Gen AI. What kind of Gen AI? It should be like the small language model, large language model. There is a huge surface to explore here, and having the proper platform to run those experiments is effectively essential. And Red Hat provides that kind of a platform called OpenShift AI that allows you to run different models and see what can be used in specific use cases. And then the next enabler is, of course, breaking organizational silos, or maybe not breaking, but bridging them, establishing connectivity, making sure that whatever services internally or externally are provided, they have the proper API developed so that these APIs could be used by others in the organization. Make access to those APIs easy, like make the API catalog, make the services catalog internally so that people from other parts of the organization could use all that. Because in a pure top-down fashion, when somebody has decided on something on top, and then like the big organization, as all telcos are, most of telcos are, somehow aligns by that and goes on and implements that, this is too slow by now. You have to enable the grassroots activity, a lot of it, in fact. And for that, you have to provide those common facilities like catalogs and such, so that people could be made aware of what is available and could start using that. Deploy your own AI models, make them available, and then people could play with those AI models and start enabling those use cases. Provided that there is the proper governance network framework around all that, you could get with innovation much, much faster compared to what we've seen from telco so far.
Interesting. Carolina, Natali, what in your view would be key enablers. I hear what Alexey's saying there. One of the things that it sounds like, and again we hear this back from the industry, so we have to do an awful lot of groundwork first before we can allow experimentation. And maybe that's something that perhaps the industry has gotten slightly wrong, that when AI, particularly when ChatGPT and Gen AI started to come in, people thought this is terrific, we can experiment very quickly. But I think we've found out something different, which is, as you say, the data strategy, the governance, all those things need to be in place first, the mindset, the skills, and then we can start experimenting quickly. Is that the right way to see this?
Well, I can agree to that all these things need to be set up in place. That is somehow the same view as I have, and what we are trying to do. We actually, through these layers that Alexey mentioned, we assessed last year where we are and identified the gaps. I think that the challenge here, the biggest challenge, is that that things need to be done in parallel in different layers. You cannot actually do it sequentially, because then you will lose a lot of time, and we need to find a way how to do some things before we finish everything. So this is something that is a big challenge for every organization, how to manage this, fill in the gaps on all these data and technological layers, changing the culture, learning new things, implementing a new experimenting, and preparing to actually scale. So I think that he mentioned everything properly. I don't have additional things. Just to say, it's not sequential. Everything in parallel needs to be done. There is no time to do it sequentially anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't say it should be sequential.
I did not say what you said.
But you really have to, to do it all at the same time. Totally agree.
No, I did not mean that. Think that you said that. I'm just emphasizing that we need to understand that we need to do that all in parallel. But yeah, absolutely, everything already said.
García, I know you're a little further along in some ways, but looking back, what would you say have been the key enablers that have progressed your autonomous networks journey? Could you point to some of the things maybe that you mentioned already to say, yeah, we did that and it really helped?
Yes, and well, as a first point, the deployment of networks more cloud native and more softwareized, and adding new next generation network components. And the rest of the enablers are governance or included in our center of excellence. The center of excellence provide a set of capabilities or enablers to the technical teams. And there is a important technological layer or point related to implement or have available this automation AI platform with all capabilities for Gen AI, for agentics, etc., and also for integration and interoperability between the current systems, the current network components, and between them. And we are exploring and testing protocols are MCP or A2A for interconnect these agents with data, with systems, etc., and between agents. Also, here we have defined some methodologies of how to build these use cases and how to be ready or integrate this kind of solutions. Also, we are working in reusable components or common frameworks for all the technical teams. There's another point related with AI value and measure the impact of each use case in specific business KPIs. Here we have an inventory of use cases or a catalog of use cases where we are trying to measure the impact in the autonomy KPI and also identify the measure benefits, costs, etc. Other important point is culture, and there we have launched some initiatives for training people. Promoting continuous learning, identifying new opportunities, organizing different workshops or boot camps with by domain in different areas for identify these kind of opportunities. Training paths for different roles, for more technical roles or more business roles. And also from the point of view of organization with new roles, new skills, new methodologies, new ways of working, of doing things. And from the point of view of financial, we are working including FinOps for AI and trying to measure mainly in the case of generative AI and the use of LLMs and agents. We think that it's very important to have control or of the waste or the cost.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to pursue that a little bit more because again, in we're a highly technological industry, and in the context of AI, agentic AI, especially in network operations, we don't hear a lot of discussion about the understanding of cost and the question of commercial models and so on. I mean, to what extent in your organizations does that feature sooner or later, or is it something that we're just putting off into the future that we don't really understand, particularly when you're in a POC context? You're not so worried about cost because everything is small scale. The question is when that scales up to tens of thousands of cell sites in a mobile context, or millions of homes, or thousands of central offices. Do we have a handle on what the cost of that is going to be, or are we only looking at a relative cost of what it costs today? Any thoughts on that? Are we taking costs seriously at the moment, or do we just not know yet? We'll find out within 2-3 years.
In our case, we are working on, or we are exploring different approaches using using LLMs or SLMs and even DSLM with different architectures and different ways of including agents and LLMs with fine-tuning, with rack architectures. It depends on the kind of use case. When we are thinking or we are designing a use case, we are testing different alternatives to select or choose the more efficient in each case in terms of cost.
Yeah. So it is something that
and
you're...
also in the case of DSLMs or SLMs, we can deploy these models or these agents on-prem. Maybe it's a way of reduce costs.
Okay. So looking at a hybrid future of in relation to AI, not only saying, I mean, we had this already in conversations about public cloud versus private cloud versus hybrid cloud. There's still some discussion in the industry as to what approach is best, and some companies have gone all in on public, and some have said, no, we need a hybrid strategy. It looks like we'll be doing the same thing in our AI context as well, trying not to become too reliant on any one supplier for AI, but trying to remain flexible. And to your point about introducing FinOps into this process, that feels like part of the kind of medium stage of this transformation journey, is to say, how do we govern it from a financial point of view in parallel with how do we govern it from a data and security point of view. I do want to ask a question about, and Alexey, maybe I'll start with you on this one. how are you seeing AI influencing the spending priorities of telcos, or the categories of spend? What are the things that they are perhaps spending less on in preference to AI infrastructure and so on? And what are the things that perhaps you're saying, no, we actually need to significantly increase our spend in this area or this category? Do you have a sense of what that might be?
Well, I see that the operators started really taking the integration questions seriously. Like it is always like it's a consistent challenge. It's always a challenge, but now the realization comes that the lack of integration of a particular system becomes a complete deal breaker. So I see the investment in integration as yet another enabler of AI, in fact, happening and spending kind of increasing on that, just simply, getting all the legacy systems somehow work together in one way or another, RPA, APIs, command line interface, whatever is available, but they have to make them connected. So that's one thing. Counter to that, well, the entire subject of spending on AI in my conversations with the customers, most often goes down to first trying to save money, optimizing operating costs, and so on, and only then starting making money.
Okay.
And so people are really looking to how they can carve out some kind of a budget, in particular on operations. And yeah, the dreaded questions of layoffs are rearing their heads now and then on that. But basically, yeah, mainly AI spending is driven by saving on operations costs.
Yeah, I think that seems to be a strong theme. Saving money never went out of fashion. I think in telecom there's always an interest in looking at where there's opportunities there. Carolina, do you have a thought on? Let me ask a slightly different question, because we've all talked about change here, and one of the elements of change is not only doing new things, but it's stopping doing things that we are used to doing. Natali, you talked about this multi-layered, in parallel, complex, business-wide initiative, but an integral part of that must be telling people who are perhaps very experienced or very good at doing a certain job that actually we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to do this other thing instead. And I'm interested in, are there any examples of things that, from a policy point of view, you said, okay, because of our strategy to become more intelligent, reduce costs, and so on, there are things that we're going to stop doing. This is not about people per se, but activities. I'll give you an example. I know there's some technology around that is potentially making it unnecessary to have an element management system in the network. In fact, you can control everything kind of rather more directly, and you don't need an EMS. And some telcos essentially have said, okay, we're not going to deploy any more element management systems. We don't need them. We've got another way to do this, a much more effective way. And so effectively they're taking out a whole class of, whether it's spend or architecture, simply removing that. We're not going to do that. To your point about integration and APIs, perhaps telcos will say, we're not going to be spending money on individual database platforms. We're going to centralize that and do this a different way. Or some other kind of policy or process or behavior, activity, or set of tasks. Even just to get into the mindset. It's a little like the famous Jeff Bezos memo in the early days of AWS, where he tells people, we are only going to have software that integrates through APIs. If you are building something that's custom or system to system, you'll be fired. This is how we work. This is our fundamental construct. Can you think of any examples of anything like that you've had to say within your own organizations? It may take us a little while to stop doing it, but our intention is to stop doing this. We're no longer going to, I don't know, have Visual Basic running our operations. We're no longer going to use Excel to map our inventory. Are there any examples you can think of like that in an AI-enabled era that perhaps signify a change that you're making, signify that you're moving into a different world? I hope that's not too hard a question. It might be too hard a question. Okay.
No,
I think that Sorry, Carolina, just go ahead. No.
Yeah, well, I think that maybe in the past, technicians are more focused on monitor the network in some through some dashboards, for example, or alarms and things like that, and for diagnose a problem or analyze a problem, they have to check different systems and so on. And now there are a lot of automatic parts in the process, and maybe they already have in some cases virtual assistants that help them. Well, some alarms that are saying that there is a problem in the network, but instead of looking or searching problems or make all the analysis manually or connecting to different systems, they have a virtual assistant that make all these diagnoses for them, and they only need to, well, the assistant is mixing all this information and giving a recommendation of solution. And the technician right now only have to decide if all that decide which of the recommendations could be the good one for solve the problem. They are in this case we are reducing a lot of time and a lot of effort of the technicians, and they can put more focus and more maybe more difficult problems that at the moment the virtual assistant can resolve.
Yeah, no, that's it. So less manual stuff. Natali, did you want to offer an example or two?
I don't have an example because we are not yet there to say stop. But you mentioned one very important thing, and which our goal is to try to reinvent processes through AI, which will eventually lead to saying we need to stop doing something in some way. And at this moment, I think that most of the organization is still here focused on how to improve efficiency of existing processes, which will be very limited and not enough business impact will happen there, just incremental. So I think that you mentioned a good point, and we will see how things will evolve in the next years as our AI maturity progresses, and when we start really changing in full how things should be done and really stopping doing some things, or and see how people will react to this. How, very interesting topic, and organizationally challenging to achieve.
Certainly.
Mainly in our case, we are thinking that the technician or humans now are operating the network, but in the future they have to operate the intelligence that is operating the network.
Yes, absolutely. Good point.
Interesting transition, and like you say, it is a cultural change and a mindset change. It's an old picture of the factory of the future, which is that there are few people, but the people are monitoring the machines, and there's a dog, and the point of the dog is to bark at the person monitoring machines if they try to change anything. So that's a dystopian view of the future, but maybe where we're heading in pursuit of performance. I do want to ask about business performance. Some very well qualified business people on this call today. Is it your expectation that that companies who are further along being AI native will see a material difference in their business performance from an operational point of view? We did some reports looking at the performance of telcos over the last 10 years and found that pretty much it kind of remains consistent despite all the money we've spent on various things. The actual operating performance is pretty flat. We're now at a different place where some of these technologies that we have, some of the things we're talking about here, organizational change and so on, could have very profound implications. Do you think that's what we will see? That if you looked at telecom from the outside and compared it with other industries, we'd see an uptick in operating performance across the board as telcos become more AI native. Is that your company's expectation that you'll see you'll see a step change sooner or later, certainly across a period, maybe 3 years, you'll be able to see, here's the point at which we became much more AI native, and you can see that in our operating numbers. Natali, do you have a view on that?
Well, yeah, exactly that. We will see in some parts of organization that change, but only if we look the whole domains, and it will not be short term. I think that we need to allow ourselves to have a period of 2 or 3 years of implementing many different pieces that will fit together to actually create this business value. So I don't think that we will see it in P&L quite soon, but on a quality level and individual productivity, and maybe even a little bit more on creativity side, we might see some differences. I mean, I can already see them, but I cannot translate them yet to really business value and company value. It's not easy measurable. And I think that the key is to really see in which areas we can do things differently. So maybe we will not have better results, but we should think also about, if not implementing AI, what would be the cost? What would be the cost of operating things, especially with 5G, with 5G SA, with all the new services, with complexity that telcos are facing in managing the whole environment and networks and different technologies. So I think that even keeping some operating costs on the same level through implementing AI is actually a huge achievement. And I think that we need really to look at the areas where this will be achievable and to focus there and to really show the result. But overall, it's not really easy and it will not be fast. And I think that is the biggest challenge, how to ensure investments into AI, how to transform organization when you cannot have huge short-term gains. So this is part of all these things that I mentioned about overall portfolio, AI portfolio governance and managing as investment portfolio, which is not short-term investment portfolio. You actually need to look at it a little bit longer in order to see these results.
So transformational, just not fast.
Yes, yes.
Carolina, do you have the same view inside Telefonica? Are you seeing the same expectation?
In our case, in some use cases, we also have seen that we are reducing times and mean time to repair, for example, or times for planning exercise, and we are reducing the number of tickets. We are improving energy efficiency, customer experience from the point of view of the network, network availability, etc. And we think that while we are increasing the level of autonomy, we can improve all these metrics. But yeah, we want to extend all these to different domains. But we know that probably in some of them the benefits will be less than in others.
Does that mean implicitly that your strategy around AI is a fundamental part of your, perhaps what might have been considered a separate network strategy? So beginning to talk about 6G, for example, Natali, you mentioned 5G SA and 5G Advanced and so on. The technology that's coming is always more complex. And it seems to me from what you've said that actually we're realizing now that if we're not to be overwhelmed by the by future network technologies, not only in the mobile space, but also elsewhere, that we've got to get the AI pieces right now. Otherwise, those things just aren't achievable. There's no point talking about a 6G refresh if, in fact, there's a whole AI foundational component required that might take 5 or 6 or 10 years to implement. Are those two things not tied together, your AI strategy and your network technology strategy?
Are you asking me?
Natali, yes.
Well, when we look at AI strategy, we look at comprehensively all the elements, not only one part, not only technology. AI strategy needs to have all the technology piece and parts that are foundational. But for us, 6G is too far away, as we are just now in a rollout for 5G because we had auction literally 2 months ago. So we let's say that we do not need to think about that part. But there is one other point which is a challenge for all on technological level. Things related to AI are moving so fast and things are changing so fast that even the bits and bytes that we are implementing now, that we identified, might require new things or might be changed in a year or two. So I think that we need also to learn how to be very fast on that and to all the time evolve this architecture and governance of it, because it is going so fast. So I don't think that anyone can really say what are all the pieces that are needed to enable 6G. But going as fast as possible in putting all these pieces together right now based on current technology is probably ensuring that we will be faster to implement next layer, and maybe even AI AI itself will help us to build next pieces of AI to support 6G. And that is one of the challenges on the investment part and on spending priorities, because you really need to have this view of things that you need to do and to think about in order to be able to do something in the future, and you cannot directly connect it to return on investment. That is why this wider and more comprehensive view is needed, and you really need to have horizons connected to your strategy, corporate strategy, to understand how these pieces are moving and to understand that you cannot avoid investing in foundational things, like you cannot not have 5G or before any other generation, or you cannot not have fiber. So these are things that you need to do, and now we need to find a way how to monetize it, how to or either to monetize it through new revenues or some new services, or to reduce a lot of to reduce operational costs with very smart use cases that there are, and some of them Carolina really nicely explained what they are doing already.
I think, Annie,
I'm sorry, I know I hate to break the party up because it's really appreciate some very straight talking there. I think that panel's outstanding. So Robert, thank you for moderating it. But Caroline and Natali and Alexey, that was really terrific. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you, we hope, before very long again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
everyone.
Bye.